Welcome everyone. My name is Father Jim McGuinn and I'm the rector here at the Malvern Retreat House. And this is the first installment of a series of videos that we want to make on making retreats here at Malvern. We want to produce some videos for the captains to help them with the great job they're doing. We want to make videos for the retreat directors to give them a little guidance. We want to create videos for retreatants to help you to get the most out of your retreat. And we also want to make some videos for people who have never made a retreat before and who may be a little skittish, not knowing what to expect when they make a retreat here. So we're calling this first video, Tips on Making a Virtual Retreat. Tips on Making a Virtual Retreat. Okay, so first thing, let's just say a few things here. We're Zooming everything now at the Malvern Retreat House. All of our retreats, all of our programs, and all of our events are being Zoomed. And Zooming is here to stay. We probably should have been doing this a long time ago. We just never got around to it. But COVID-19 has certainly changed that. So we're Zooming everything. It's here to stay. That's a good thing. We've had people making our traditional weekend retreats from California, Maine, New York. Just 2 weeks ago, there were two retreatants making the retreat from Florida. And one, I think it was his 64th or 65th retreat, and he ended up in the hospital. So he made his retreat from his hospital room. This is great, okay? We're touching a larger audience, and this is a really good thing that's happening. So, we're going to be making mistakes as we learn how to Zoom properly, and we just ask you to be patient with us, but we have gotten better, and if you have ideas or suggestions, always feel free to share them with us here at Malvern. So, tips for how to make a virtual retreat. The first thing I'd like to do is talk about some things that you can do before the retreat. Then I'll talk about some things you can do on the actual retreat day. And then I'm going to offer some tips and some suggestions for a post-retreat experience. So, a couple of things, pre-retreat. You know, the first is to admit that making a virtual retreat is different than doing it on site. Just acknowledge that. Just acknowledge that. Ask God to help you to make the best virtual retreat you can. And think a little bit about how you can make a virtual retreat. I'll give you some suggestions. These aren't all of them out there. So the first is this. Do your best to reduce distractions before the retreat begins. Okay? So what does that mean? Well, it probably means unplugging a lot of your electrical devices. So don't be texting, don't be making phone calls, stay off the computer, don't be watching TV. Unplug from all those electrical devices. Next, create a sacred space where you can make your retreat. It's probably not going to be a great idea just to sit in your kitchen or your living room with people coming in and out all the time. Create a sacred space. You figure out where that should be in your house or your apartment or your condo. And then take some steps to make it a sacred space. Here's a few things that you can do. Put out a Bible to remind you about the Word of God. It's another thing, you can light a candle. And again, it kind of reminds us that we're in a sacred space. This is an image of the divine mercy of Jesus Christ, so put out a couple of pictures or a little statue if you have it, or put out a crucifix. But these are ways of creating a sacred space. Maybe you'd like to have a table there and put a cloth over it, almost like an altar, and that will remind you that what you're doing is a special thing, that you're making a retreat to be close to God. What else? Remind yourself that this is not a regular day. And so even if you can't come on site to make the retreat, it's not a regular day. So don't be doing any work when you're on your retreat. Don't go out shopping if you get a little break on your retreat. Don't immediately start walking the dog or doing some errands on your retreat. This is not a regular day, so make it serious. Here's something else. Tell your family that you're making the retreat. Tell your family that you're making the retreat and ask them not to disturb you. 3 weeks ago, we had a wrap-up after a retreat, and all the retreatants' pictures were on the large screen that was lowered, and we could see them. And then periodically throughout the day, we panned out all the people who were here in Upper McShane so that the people at home could see them. But also, individual retreatants were saying hello to the retreatants at home. And one guy at home said, "This was one of my best retreats because I invited my wife to make it with me." So, listen, tell your families that you're making the retreat, but maybe push it a little further. Invite them to make the retreat with you. So, what else? It's important to have the computer on, it's important to have the camera on your computer on so that we can see you here at the Malvern Retreat House, but also it's important to share that with the other people on Zoom so that they can see you as well. So choose the option that allows you to share your videoing with both with people making the retreat online through Zoom, but also those making the retreat here on site. That's going to be really, really important. You know, another reason having your camera on is important is, you know what, it holds us kind of accountable. When our cameras are not on, we're kind of tempted to do other things because no one can really see us. So keep the camera on, and it holds us accountable. It also makes for a better experience for you and for those who are making the retreat with you. Okay, what else? Download the retreat material beforehand that's available on the Malvern Retreat website. What does that mean? This is still evolving, but there are going to be PDF files there with the readings that are used at the conferences, the prayer services that are done on the retreat, and also in time maybe a retreat booklet. So all of those resources, print them out beforehand, keep them handy, and that will also make a better retreat. Okay, on the retreat day, here's a couple of suggestions. Just remind yourself that this is a sacred time and follow the schedule that everybody else is following. When the conferences begin, make sure you're there and stay to the end. Take advantage of all the virtual options that are offered. There's going to be virtual options after when confessions are being heard, but also in the afternoon, there's virtual options when the retreatants make the Stations of the Cross here, or say the Rosary, or have some downtime. We want to make some virtual options available for you, so take advantage of them. Participate physically in the retreat. When everybody stands, for example, at Mass, stand. When everybody blesses themselves, bless yourself. When everybody sits, sit. What else? You know what? If somebody invites people to sing here, sing along. Yeah, so participate in the retreat physically. What does that also mean? It probably means it's not best to slouch or to lie on a sofa watching the retreat. Get dressed properly. It kind of puts us in the right attitude. And really attend the retreat at home like you would here. So, here's another one. On the day of the retreat, do not be multitasking. This is, God wants to love you, and you're there to honor God. So avoid multitasking. When people's heads go down and you don't see their eyes, you kind of start to suspect they're texting or something. Unfortunately, a couple of weeks ago, when the conference began, a retreatant got up and he got one of these and he started to make breakfast for himself, and he made himself a cup of tea as well. And I guess he didn't know that all this was on the camera. So don't multitask. Make the retreat. You'll enjoy it better anyway. If the retreat director invites you to participate. Sometimes retreat directors have like a question and answer period. So if you're at home making the retreat, add to the, type into the chat box a question that you may have. Or sometimes retreat directors ask people for some insights or some responses to something that he's said. What we're trying to do here is to include the on-site retreatants and the virtual retreatants in everything. So let's say a retreat director asks people, here are some questions. Well, your pictures will be on the big screen in Upper McShane. All you need to do is wave, and we have two guys who are helping with the zooming the retreats, Peter and Scott. They'll unmute you, and then you can speak to the whole crowd. You can say, hello, wish I was there, but Father, can you answer me this question? So participate that way. Type into the chat box, and also do so by speech. Another thing that we've done now is we've created chat rooms on the retreat. So a couple of times retreat directors asked people just to share something with each other, with the people nearby them, and there were chat rooms where people were doing the same thing. So take advantage of that. Participate as much as you can. When you have some free time, I encourage people to journal. Put some of your thoughts or insights down on paper. Maybe you can use them at the end of the retreat for the wrap-up, and take place in the wrap-up and share with us your ideas and suggestions. So a couple of things you can do on the day of the retreat. Finally, some post-retreat activities. The first is I'm encouraging people to go to confession. Making a good confession often makes for a good retreat, and we offer confessions here. So maybe on the day of the retreat, if you have a period of time, you can go to confession, or maybe sometime during the week or the following Saturday if your parish has confessions on Saturday. So go to confession. Also, maybe you can go to Mass during the week, an extra Mass, just in gratitude for making the retreat. That's a suggestion. We really want feedback from all of our retreats, our programs, and our events. So we have surveys for every event that we have here, every program and every retreat. The surveys will be given to you through SurveyMonkey, so it's online. So we ask you, it's only a short survey, maybe 10 or 12 questions. We ask you to fill that out online and then send it back to the retreat house. And what else? Oh, and here's something too. Visit the retreat house when you get the chance. So if you make your retreat virtually, that's great. But if you ever want to come back and actually just make a retreat here or make a visit here in person, that could also enhance your retreat experience. Finally, one of the things we're trying to do here at Malvern is to offer follow-up programs to our retreats. And we're starting to do that for the season of Lent in 2021. And one of the programs that we're offering is a program called Connections. So you may want to check that out and be here on site to be part of the Connections program. But in time, maybe in the Easter season, we would like to offer that program virtually as well. And so you can be part of that program virtually. Or here's another suggestion. Maybe you want to make that program with other people in your retreat group. So that might be a great way to follow up. Anyway, thanks so much. You're wonderful people, and God bless.